بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه الطيبين الطاهرين. Let's get straight into it because I know we are, MashaAllah, we are late, but let's begin. Who are the Jinn? Let's get straight into it. The Jinn, many people they say, Subhanallah, we're going to hear a Jinn story now. We're going to hear many Jinn stories. I'm probably not going to sleep for a week. I'm probably not going to, MashaAllah, go to my bedroom alone. I'm not going to, and so on. The Jinn, something that needs to be noted about them is that when we say Jinn are not what we need to be afraid of. Or Jinn are not what we need to protect ourselves from. Because we need to differentiate. Beginning with the father of the Jinn. I'll come to the differentiation soon. The father of the Jinn, this is Iblis himself. Satan, the devil. He is the father of all of the Jinn. Just as we have Adam alayhi salam, the father of all men. Iblis is the father of all the Jinn. So he has no mother, he has no father. He was the first of his kind. The first of Jinn kind. And you know that he used to be a Muslim and then later he committed kufr and so on. The Prophet ﷺ said, خُلِقَتِ الْمَلَائِكَةُ مِن نُور وَخُلِقَ الْجَانِ مِن مَارِجٍ مِن نَار. The Jinn, they were created from a smokeless fire. I.e. the first Jinn that was created from a smokeless fire. So the Jinn, they are one of three types of creation that are attributed with an intellect. One of them being humans, the second angels, and the third Jinn. When we say the word Jinn, this refers to the Muslims amongst the Jinn. If you say Jinn ala al-itlaq, like that, like Jinni or Jinniyah, this usually means, according to the scholars, the Muslims amongst that kind. Now, when one of these Muslims falls into blasphemy or kufr, when he disobeys Allah in such a way that he is considered outside the fold of al-Islam, this Jinn then acquires a new name. We call him a shaitan. We call him a demon. We call him a devil. Iblis is a shaitan. His ansar, his a'wan, his helpers, his army are all shayateen. So you see, it's not the Jinn that we, or if we're afraid, we need to be afraid of. Because the Jinni is Muslim. When the Jinn commits kufr, it is then that we call them shayateen, and the shayateen are the ones that are disobedient to Allah Ta'ala. They have rules, just as we have rules. Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam was sent to all of humankind and all of Jinn kind also, calling them to al-Islam. Just as we have rules, just as we are obligated to do certain things and are obligated to stay away from certain things, likewise the Jinn. The Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam taught his companions, radiyallahu عن أصحاب النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام, and amongst the Jinn. He taught the Jinn too. He once took Ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu to a particular place and he drew a line on the earth. He drew a line on the earth and he said to him, do not come past that line. He did this on more than one occasion. He had majalis, he had gatherings with the Jinn where he would teach them the personal obligatory knowledge. He would give them the da'wah, give them the call to al-Islam. So, the Jinn, the Muslims amongst the Jinn, as well as the shayateen amongst this kind, they have rules by which they must abide. One example is that it is haram, this is probably the thing that interests most people, it is haram for a Jinn or a shaitan, anyone from this kind, to enter a human being. To enter the body of a person this is haram upon that kind. I mean, that doesn't apply to us because you can't, you can't enter the mouth of another person. You can't die. It doesn't work for us. But this rule applies to the jinn. So, specifically when we say jinn, we refer to the Muslims. But when we say shayateen, this refers to those jinn that committed kufr. This is the first thing that I would like to mention. Most of what we're going to mention after this point is going to be related to as-sihr, magic. And the jinn, or the shayateen amongst the jinn, they tie in very closely with that. But just so that we are clear on what the jinn actually are. They are created from a smokeless fire and their father is Iblis. One other thing of note is that the shayateen, i.e. the kuffar amongst the jinn, they experience great pleasure when it comes to najasa. Najasa is filth. Things like blood, things like feces, things like urine. This is why they occupy those places most. This is why before you enter the lavatory, the bathroom, you say, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-khubuthi wal-khaba'ith. Ya Allah, I seek refuge with you. I seek your protection against the male and the female shayateen, al-khubuth wal-khaba'ith. Likewise, in the markets, the shayateen, they experience a lot of pleasure when Allah is disobeyed. And Allah is disobeyed a lot in the markets. The Prophet ﷺ informed us, and I don't mean like Asda's or Tesco's or Sainsbury's, I mean markets where there are stalls. These are markets. The Prophet ﷺ said, بَابَ فِيهَا الشَّيْطَانُ وَفَرَخ, which means that it is there that the shayateen lay their eggs. Another difference. The shayateen, they don't give birth like humans do. Rather, they lay eggs. So this is something to know about the shayateen. So they are very closely, very closely attributed, or let's say linked with as-sihr, magic. Because magic, as we will go on to explain, is evil. So what is the definition of magic or sorcery? The scholars, in brief, they said, السحر مزاولة أقوال وأفعال خبيثة. A very small summary. That magic or sorcery is to practice saying despicable things and committing despicable acts على وجه مخصوص, in a particular way, which would bring out a certain effect. This is how some of the scholars summarized magic. Other scholars, take Ibn Qudama for example, he said that magic is uqad. Uqad, some of the sorcerers and the witches, literally, and wizards in the past, what they used to do was they would get a string, tie a knot in it, and say a spell upon it, and then they would send their magic somewhere. This is uqad. So Ibn Qudama al-Hanbali, rahimahullah, he says that as-sihr huwa uqad wa ruqan, amulets. They would write spells in these amulets and then send them off. Wa kalamun, kalamun yaquluhu as-sahir, or something that the magician says. Or fi'lun yaf'aluhu as-sahir, or it is an action that the sahir does. And this has a direct effect on the heart, the mind, or the body of the person who they want to afflict. Such that this person would be made to see things that aren't really there. Or they would be made to do things that they do not want to do, and so on. And we will give details about that. One of the scholars, he is known as Ibn Jarir al-Tabari, a mujtahid, a jurist amongst the scholars in the past. He said that one of the effects of magic, one of the types of the effects of magic is like when you're in a desert and you see a mirage and you think it's water, but it's not actually water. Or when you are traveling on a ship, you are aboard a ship and it is moving through the water at a steady pace. He said, it seems to you as though the mountains are moving with you. If you look to the side, it seems as though the mountains are moving with you. You look to the other side and it looks as though the trees are moving with you. This is how he tried to bring our attention to what the effects of magic are like. Magic, Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah, and among them An-Nawawi, he said that magic is something that exists in reality. So this is important though. Magic is something that actually exists. It has an existence outside the mind. It's not something abstract. It's not an illusion. It is not somebody covering your eyes so that you don't see a particular thing. This is only a type of magic, rather magic actually exists. Potions such as love potions, getting somebody to fall in love with one, killing somebody, and so on, wal-'iyadhu billah, is amongst the evils that can occur through magic and sihr. So they said, as-sihru lahu haqiqa. It actually exists. It's not that it's an abstract matter that does not exist outside the mind. Black magic. All magic is, if you like, black, in the sense that all magic is evil. There is no white magic. There is no good magic. The scholars, they say, لا تزال النجاسة بالنجاسة, which means you can't get rid of filth like urine. If you have urine on your clothing, you can't get rid of it with more urine. Rather, when you want to clean your clothes, you want to cleanse them of that urine, you use something purifying like water. There is no good magic with which you can get rid of bad magic. There is no, the way they portray some Harry Potter, Alice in Wonderland, what else? What else is there? Let's mention, let's say, six. Six other than Harry Potter. Six things other than Wonderland, where they portray magic as something good. What else? What else is there? Shrek? Yeah, they have magic in Shrek. What else? See, bringing out the children within you. Well, what else do they have? What's other than Shrek? Really? You guys didn't watch TV when you were younger? Peter Pan. Huh? Aladdin. And on and on and on. So, Peter Pan and Tinkerbell and all of these imaginary characters, they portray them in a positive light. سحر يعني كما يقولون من الأخير يعني from the end. Sihr is haram. Magic is haram. Whichever way you look at it. Look what they say. If there's somebody who has been afflicted with magic, even they themselves are not allowed to conjure magic to counter that which they have been afflicted with. Haram. At the very least, it is impermissible. So through this we learn that there is no black magic, white magic. All magic is impermissible. All of it. What does magic involve? Magic, we said, it involves despicable sayings and despicable actions done or said in a particular way to give a particular effect. Some types of magic, and they will come, some types of magic are at the very least haram, major sins, because they involve harming people. Other types of magic actually take a person outside of the religion of Islam. And you will see why. Some magic involves the devils or the demonic human beings. For example, urinating on the Mus'haf, on the book of the Quran, wal-'iyadhu billah. Others bury things in the graves of people. Urinating on the Quran obviously is kufr. And other things that they do, some types of sorcery, the wizards and the witches, they don't accept for people to access that type of magic unless a person makes a sacrifice. Sometimes this sacrifice is that a person has to prostrate to the devil or prostrate to a shaitan. Prostrating to the devil or a shaitan, this is kufr. Sorcery sometimes can land a person outside of the fold of Islam. And sometimes, or at other times, when it's not kufr, it is haram. And this is the very, very least. So where did magic begin? I will digress a little bit. Adam alayhi salam, he was taught all of the foundations of the good things. So we're not talking about magic. When Adam alayhi salam descended to earth, Adam alayhi salam was taught the foundations of medicine, the foundations of engineering, the foundations of sowing, the foundations of growing crops and harvesting them. Because there was no need for that in Al-Jannah. He was taught by revelation, Al-Wahy, the foundations of all of the different knowledges. Then people advanced in these knowledges through trial and error. As for magic and many things like magic that are evil, it is the shayateen that discovered a way to manipulate certain words and certain actions to give a certain effect. And from the days of old, this is what they have been practicing. And then came a time when they started to teach it to some human beings with the aim to cause havoc upon the earth, with the aim to misguide people in general and specifically to misguide Muslims so that they would try to get them to commit kufr. Kufr, remember, is any action, any saying or any belief that renders a person a non-Muslim. So the origins of magic are from the shayateen themselves. From the shayateen themselves. And this is known. There was a person in the time of the Prophet ﷺ known as Ibn Sayyad. Some of the companions, they thought that maybe he is ad-Dajjal. Maybe he is ad-Dajjal. Because he used to do certain things that were extraordinary. Magic is something extraordinary. Didn't we say that it actually exists? Yes. Some of them thought that he was ad-Dajjal because he would bring about things that were extraordinary. So they went to the Prophet ﷺ and they asked him, such and such person does such and such. He does these extraordinary things that don't usually happen. So the Prophet ﷺ visited him. And he said to him, when you do these things that you do, what do you see? He said, أَرَى عَرْشًا عَلَى الْمَاءِ. He said, when I do these extraordinary things that I'm able to do, after the words that I say, and after some of these actions that I perform, without mentioning what they were, he said, أَرَى عَرْشًا عَلَى الْمَاءِ. I see a throne on water. I have these flashes. I see a throne on water. The Prophet ﷺ told him, تَرَى عَرْشَ إِبْلِيسِ. You see the throne of Iblis, because Iblis, may he be damned. Iblis, what he did was, some of the scholars said, that Iblis tried to replicate the arsh of Allah. The Prophet ﷺ narrated in a hadith narrated by Al-Bukhari, that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, كَانَ اللَّهُ وَلَمْ يَكُنْ شَيْءٌ غَيْرُهُ. Allah existed and nothing else existed. So no dimensions, time, place, color, temperature, texture, nothing existed. Allah existed and nothing else existed. No dark and no light. وَكَانَ عَرْشُهُ عَلَى الْمَاءِ. After this, the first of creation was created. Water. وَجَعَلْنَا مِنَ الْمَاءِ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ حَيٍّ. Water was created. After water was created, time came into existence, place came into existence, texture and dimensions came into existence, and Allah does not change. He exists without dimensions and time and without a place. Allah Ta'ala created the Arsh, His throne. And Allah put the throne, created it on top of water as a sign of the great dominion of Allah, the great control of Allah. Upon the Arsh there was a book, because there is a book on the Arsh, and it says a particular thing. سَبَقَتْ رَحْمَتِي غَضَبِي. We'll go into that, inshallah, at another time. But the Arsh of Allah was on water. Iblis, when he committed kufr, and he was evicted from paradise, he descended to earth and he built his own Arsh. He built a throne. It doesn't come close to the Arsh of Allah around which the angels circumambulate. But he had a throne built for himself and he put it on the water. The scholar said that Ibn Sayyad mustamaddun min indi Iblis. That Iblis is the one that supported Ibn Sayyad, sending him demons, aiding him in sihr, in magic, and so on. So this is how magic is spread. And there are people up to nowadays who use magic. Some people, unfortunately, they don't know it's magic. They have inherited it jeel ba'da jeel, generation after generation, and it's just become something that's part of the culture. To get a particular food at a particular part, from a particular place, and to mix it with something in a particular hour of the night, or at sunset, and so on. It's just something that they do, and because of it they see a particular result. And through that they seek to harm people. And this is how they have lived their lives. And they don't even know that something like this is haram, because they did not learn the rules of the religion. So the origins of magic are from the shayateen. Magic, like we said, Sulaiman alayhi salam was not a sorcerer. Something that is very important for us to understand and know and to protect is that the prophets of Allah Ta'ala, they were infallible. They were infallible. They were impeccable in the sense that they did not commit kufr. They did not commit major sins. Sulaiman alayhi salam, he asked Allah for control over the earth, for a kingdom that nobody after him would be able to attain. مُلْكٍ لَا يَنْبَغِي لِأَحَدٍ مِنَ الْعَالَمِينَ. He said, Ya Allah, grant me control, grant me a kingdom that nobody after me would see. Such that he had control over the jinn, over the shayateen. He had control over humans. He had control over the birds and so on. He had animals in his army also. Sulaiman alayhi salam, he was given this by the eternal and everlasting generosity of Allah. After he died, alayhi salam, some of the devils devised a plan. It was a plot to get people to commit kufr. What did they say? They said to the people, do you know how Sulaiman alayhi salam used to rule you? Do you know with what he was able to control and maintain all of this kingdom? They said, we don't know. They said, why don't you dig under the throne of Sulaiman that he used to sit on and give judgments? Why don't you dig and search under Kursi Sulaiman? What the devils had done was that they had already dug underneath and they had buried under the throne of Sulaiman alayhi salam sorcery. Certain materials and substances and spells, they had written them and put them under the seat, the throne of Sulaiman after he passed away. So they told the people to dig it up. See with what Sulaiman alayhi salam was controlling you. So they dug it up. These people that dug it up, some of them, what did they do? They saw that there was magic under the throne of Sulaiman, so they committed kufr. What did they say? They said, in that case, Sulaiman was a sorcerer. Sulaiman was a magician. Remember what we said? No prophet ever committed a major sin, and no prophet ever committed kufr. Magic at the very least, the most simple type of magic, at the very least, it is a major sin. Anybody who says that Sulaiman alayhi salam used to practice magic, he exited al-Islam. This was the trick of the devils altogether. They had managed to trick some people into believing that Sulaiman alayhi salam used to commit magic, and therefore these people committed kufr. Magic versus miracles. There came a time, because within the different nations of the prophets, within the different nations, people have been given certain trials. There was a particular time when 2 angels were sent to the people in Babylon. In the Quran, Babel. These 2 angels, Harut and Marut, that are mentioned in the Quran, they were sent to the people. For what reason? The demons and the devils had started to teach magic to the people. They've started to teach them magic, and they had started to use magic in the general public. So now, people were not able to differentiate between what was magic and what were miracles, because both matters are extraordinary. The scholars say that as-sihr wal-mu'jizatu khariqun lil-'ada. It is something that is extraordinary, something you don't see every day. It defies what we know to be normal. And the reason why you see this slide here is that miracles are a huge base for the Muslims. Huge. If you look at it through epistemology, how we know things, how we know, for example, that al-Islam is true. Miracles is one of those things that we use to know that the prophets were truthful about them being messengers of Allah. They would perform extraordinary matters. After performing them, they would say, I am a prophet of Allah. And nobody would be able to do the like thereof to discredit them. Nobody would be able to do what they did. The Prophet ﷺ split the moon. Nobody will be able to do that. Not at that time and not afterwards. Musa ﷺ split the Red Sea into 12 different parts. And he claimed prophethood. And nobody will be able to do the same thing to discredit him. Fine. If this is one of the biggest proofs for us that such and such person was a prophet, Or even for himself, the Prophet, if he wants to come to some people and say, I am a Prophet, they'll say, what's your proof? He'll perform a miracle and say, I am a Prophet. Allah Ta'ala changed the way things usually are, for me as a sign that I am a Prophet. As though Allah is saying that this person whom I changed the norm for, he is truthful. So if this is such a big thing for us, miracles, this would be a target for the devils, for them to try to blur the lines. So when they used to perform magic to the people, people couldn't tell the difference now between magic and miracles. So if a prophet had come and said, I am a prophet, and then subsequently performed a miracle, the people, they wouldn't know any better. They would say, this is just an extraordinary matter. How do we know that this is not magic, for example? So the devils, they targeted the idea of miracles by teaching and performing magic amongst the people. At this point, Allah Ta'ala sent Harut and Marut, sent two angels. These angels were a trial for the people. What did Allah mention in Al-Quran? Allah mentioned in Al-Quran that they taught people. Harut and Marut actually taught people magic. Remember, angels don't disobey Allah. Angels don't disobey Allah. لا يعصون الله ما أمرهم ويفعلون ما يؤمرون. They don't disobey Allah at all. They were ordered by Allah to teach people magic. For what reason? So that they could differentiate. So that people could differentiate between what was magic and demonic and between miracles. So that when a prophet does come, then they could believe in him. Harut and Marut, these two honorable angels of Allah, they did not teach anybody magic except that they would say, إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ فِتْنَةٌ. Beware, we are a trial from Allah. إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ فِتْنَةٌ فَلَا تَكْفُرْ. We are a trial from Allah. We are teaching you this magic. We are showing you how it is done so that you can differentiate between it and between miracles. In case an imposter comes around and does magic and says, I am a prophet. They said, but don't commit kufr. Don't go and use this magic to commit major sins or kufr. Because it is the case for some people that when they start off with something small, they want more, and then more and more. They may end up wanting more magic, more power, more control, such that they might end up prostrating to the sun or the moon. So, magic versus miracles, it's a very important concept for us to grasp. This is how it works. The intellect, it testifies that there must be a creator. And this is the general proof for the existence of Allah. We say, the Muslims, that Allah sent prophets. These people needed, in the eyes of epistemology, they needed to prove that they were sent by God, by the Creator. They did that. How? They performed miracles by the will of Allah. Okay. People, companions of every single prophet, they would have seen those miracles, heard those miracles. They had used their 5 functional senses to perceive these miracles. Then through mass witness transmission, they conveyed it from generation to generation to generation. And that is the solid proof of the Muslims that Allah exists, He sent prophets, and that we are obligated to follow a particular code in life. With magic, like we said, the devils, they try to blur the lines. And this is why Allah Ta'ala sent Harut and Marut to teach the people the difference. What is the judgment of learning magic? I think it's clear. The judgment of learning magic is that it is haram. At the very least. Learning magic is haram. I mean, what's one going to do with it? There are certain, let me put it into perspective. There are certain knowledges that are obligatory, fard. Some knowledges are a personal obligation, like it's an obligation upon each and every one of us to pray. Like it's an obligation upon each and every one of us to fast. This is a personal obligation, it's personal to you. Likewise, there are certain types of knowledge that are a personal obligation for each and every person to acquire. Like the knowledge of creed. Like to know about Allah Ta'ala. For example, to know that Allah does not share any of His attributes with the creation, and that the creation does not share any of its attributes with Allah. Likewise, amongst the personal obligations is to know about the prophets, and that they don't lie, and that they are intelligent, and that they are trustworthy. This is a personal obligation. There are other things now that are communal obligations. Like what? There must be within the Muslim community people who can swim. Who can swim? Who can swim? MashaAllah. There has to be within the Muslim community people who can drive. Who can drive? Allahu Akbar. 2 hands up at the back. Look at that. MashaAllah. Every beneficial knowledge that there is a communal obligation upon the Muslims to acquire it. Engineers, doctors, teaching different languages. These are communal obligations, meaning that if all of the Muslims in a particular community fall short in acquiring, even if one person doesn't acquire that, then the whole community is sinful. This is a communal obligation. How is it different from a personal obligation? The personal obligation refers to you. If you neglect that particular matter, you are sinful. But in a communal obligation, if a few of the people do it, then you are saved from sin. But if all of you leave it, then you are all sinful. So that's personal obligations and communal obligations. Other than that, there are knowledges that are non-beneficial. Non-beneficial. There are some types of knowledge, like the knowledge of sihr, that the scholars of jurisprudence, fiqh, when they mention the chapter of al-istinja, they say that with these types of knowledges, the knowledge of sihr and knowledges like it, you can perform al-istinja. Because it's not beneficial. It's haram to learn these types of knowledges. Because no good comes from it. What good is going to come from a person learning about magic? And then later on, isn't that going to encourage a person to practice it? And then if they practice it, it's either a major sin, because it always involves harming someone. Even if it doesn't involve harming someone, Allah Ta'ala forbade us from practicing magic. Allah forbade us from practicing magic. So, magic at the very least is haram. And in certain situations, like when it involves prostrating to the sun, or prostrating to a devil, or using the ayahs, or urinating with ayahs billah on the book of the Quran and so on. In these cases it is kufr. One thing I would like to draw your attention to is that we said that all magic is bad. All magic is bad. The Quran, this is the opposite of magic. Al-Quran is inherently good. It's good. In no way is the Quran ever used in magic. Never. This was another trick of the devils. Sometimes what they do is they would conjure up some magic, and after they conjure up the magic and it's complete, and they go to bury it in a grave, in a fresh grave, or whatever they want to do, whatever they do. After they do that, what do? They write down certain ayahs of the Quran, completely unrelated. They write down certain ayahs of the Quran and they'll mix it in with magic. So that when some humans see, then they will automatically think, the Quran has a part to play in magic. anybody who believes that the Quran has a part to play in magic is kufr. This person exits al-Islam. There is a particular type of magic which is love magic, which involves doing certain things that is known to those people, because of which a jinn would enter a male or a female. This male then, or this female, would become in like a trance. And then they would do whatever is requested of them. وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. There are certain ayahs in the Quran in which it mentions love. يُحِبُّونَهُمْ كَحُبِّ اللَّهِ. This ayah, some people, they use it to trick certain people. They conjure up their magic, and then something completely unrelated. They write this ayah down and they put it inside that pot where they have conjured up that magic, to delude people into thinking that the Quran has a part to play in magic, and it doesn't at all. So how does one protect oneself from magic? One would protect oneself from magic by doing what the Prophet ﷺ said. He said that the one that recites upon the onset of Al-Fajr and upon the onset of Al-Maghrib 3 times Al-Mu'awwidhat, which are Al-Ikhlas, Al-Falaq and Al-Nas. Whoever does that at Al-Maghrib and at Al-Fajr, the Prophet ﷺ said, تَكْفِيهِ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ. They would be enough for him. They would protect this person from everything by the will of Allah Ta'ala. Magic is something that is very, very, very popular in some cultures. But its shu'um, its effects are grave. A few years ago, there was a woman who was mentioning that she used to engage in a particular type of sorcery, magic. Then what she wanted to do was repent. So, she wanted to perform al-Hajj, to wipe the slate clean. She went to perform al-Hajj, and when the people, when you first see the Kaaba, who's seen the Kaaba? No, on the screen. Yeah, who's been to Mecca and seen the Kaaba? Okay, if your hands go down, okay. MashaAllah. When you see the Kaaba, you stahabbu dua. When you see the Kaaba, you make dua, because the dua is likely to be answered. So when the people started to make dua, she said, "What are you making dua for?" They said, "We see the Kaaba." She said, "What Kaaba?" She said, "I don't see the Kaaba." "What do you mean you don't see the Kaaba?" And they had this on TV a few years ago. She said, I don't see the Kaaba. So they said to her, "What do you mean you don't see the Kaaba?" Then they went to make tawaf around the Kaaba 7 times. She didn't see the Kaaba. She didn't see the Kaaba. So some of the scholars, they asked her, "What is it that you do?" She said, "I am somebody who washes the dead. I am somebody who washes dead females. When they pass away, I wash them and then they are shrouded." She said, "Some people though, they used to request from me," and then they pushed her, "What do you do? Do you think there could be something because of which you can't see the Kaaba?" And she said, "Well, there may be one thing, but I've repented from it. There may be one thing. That is that some people would come to me at intervals, and they would request from me that I take spells from them." So they'd write spells, magic, and they would request from me that whenever I get a new corpse, a body of a person, they will request from me that I hide this magic in the mouth of that dead person. Wash it and then close it, and then it would be madfunian, buried. This type of magic, it's not like the one where a person would bury it in a fresh grave. Rather, this type of magic, after the casket is closed and is 6 feet under, it's hard to get rid of it. She said, this is what I used to do. You see, the result of that, even though she said she repented, the result of that was that this woman did not see the Kaaba. The Kaaba that Adam alayhi salam built, she did not see the Kaaba. Some sins, they have a detrimental effect. A detrimental effect. A person is reported to have once been clutching on to the sitar, the cloth of the Kaaba, and saying, Allahumma amitni mu'minan, Allahumma amitni mu'minan, Allahumma amitni mu'minan. Oh Allah, grant me death upon al-Islam. They asked him, أَوَلَا دَعَوْتَ بِغَيْرِهِ? Why do you make another dua? You're clutching onto the Kaaba and saying, Allahumma amitni mu'minan, Allahumma amitni mu'minan. أَوَلَا دَعَوْتَ بِغَيْرِهِ? Why don't you make another dua? So he said, let me tell you a story. Two of my brothers. The first one, he performed the adhan for about 40 years. 40. 40 years. And remember, some of the scholars, what did they say? They said that performing the adhan, the one that performs the adhan, he is rewarded more than the one that leads the prayer. They said that the one that makes the adhan has more reward than the imam, than the one who does the imam. He said that my brother, he gave the adhan for 40 years without, without taking a wage for that. He did it apparently for the sake of Allah. When it came to his death, we were surrounding his bed. And when he felt his time was close, he called out to one of us and said, Ijlib li al-Mushaf. Bring me the book of the Quran. So they said, Subhanallah. He wants to read from the Quran before he passes. When the book of the Quran was brought to him, he said, Ana bari'un minhu. Which means that I am innocent of it. I am free of everything that is within it. It is kufr to say that. Person, it's like saying, I don't believe in any of it. Get it away from me. This person then very apparently died upon other than al-Islam. He said, my second brother, he gave the adhan for some 25 years without getting anything in return. And the same happened to him. When he was on his deathbed, he called for the Quran to be brought, and he said, Ana bari'un minhu. And he committed kufr, and then he died. He said, then we asked people who were close to the both of them. We asked them, what is it that you think brought this about? What is that? Is there a particular sin that they used to commit on a regular basis? Because sometimes, even if it's a small sin, if it's done consistently, it can have a detrimental effect. It might be that a person commits a small sin once, and in that sin, a bad ending was hidden for them. That might lead them to something else, and then they commit kufr, and then they leave al-Islam. He said that we asked the people, and they said that both of them, it was known about them. It was known that they would search for the defects of people. They would search for the defects, the shortcomings of other Muslims, and then they would spread them amongst the people. They would spread them amongst the people. And this is very sinful. Some sins have detrimental effects. All sins are disobediences. The scholar said, don't look at the size of the sin. Don't look, is it a major sin or is it a small sin? Oh, if it's a small sin, let me do it. No, they said, don't look at the size of the sin, but look at the one that you are disobeying. Whether a person commits kufr, a major sin, or a minor sin, the one that is being disobeyed is Allah. One is disobeying the Creator. Al-Fudayl ibn Iyad, he was amongst as-Salaf. From the first 3 centuries, he had a student who was very enthusiastic. He would memorize very quickly, and he was somebody who Al-Fudayl was hoping that he would leave him as his predecessor, as somebody who will carry on the work of Al-Fudayl. But when it came to his deathbed, a similar thing happened. He said, I am innocent of the Quran. I don't want anything to do with the Quran. He committed kufr, and then he died. Al-Fudayl, he searched and he searched and he searched. What is that thing that occurred from him that was most likely the reason for his demise? They told him, well, he saw in a dream. He saw himself. He himself saw in a dream this particular student of his. And he asked him, what is the reason for what happened? He said, كنت أحسد إخواني في طلب العلم. He said that I was jealous, I would envy the other students of knowledge such that I would say things and do things to try to get them from stopping, to try to get them to stop learning. His sin was hasad. And that led, in the end, to him committing kufr. Remember, the scholars say, al-ma'asiyatu baridul kufr. Meaning that sins, committing one sin after the other, one sin after the other, one sin after the other, it leads a person closer and closer and closer to kufr. Whereas the good deeds, they lead a person towards a higher rank. So, mashallah, I encourage all of us to protect ourselves by reciting 3 times Surah Al-Ikhlas, Al-Falaq and Al-Nas without fail at Al-Maghrib and at Al-Isha. Al-Fajr, sorry. You can read it at Al-Isha too, but Al-Fajr. And at Al-Fajr. Also, what is very, very strong is for a person's iman to be strong. Sometimes, for those of us who are a little, shaken by the Jinn or by the shayateen, for one's iman to be strong, this is something that is very, very helpful. Very helpful. On a particular occasion, I was mentioning the creed of the Muslims to a person who was having some problems. And I mentioned to him that Al-Imam Dhunnun al-Misri, for example, he said, مَهْمَا تَصَوَّرْتَ بِذَلِكَ فَاللَّهُ بِخِلَافِ ذَلِكَ. Whatever you imagine in your mind, Allah is not like that. And that our master Abu Bakr radiyallahu anhu said, الْعَجْزُ عَنْ دَرَكِ الْإِدْرَاكِ إِدْرَاكُ وَالْبَحْثُ عَنْ ذَاتِهِ كُفْرٌ وَإِشْرَاكُ. This verse of poetry. It means that not being able, it's very strong, and this is what affected that person. It means, Abu Bakr radiyallahu anhu said, not being able to imagine Allah in the mind, this actually means that you know Allah. This is ma'rifatullah. Knowing Allah means that you know that you cannot imagine Him. He is not up, He is not down, He is not like the creation. That is why He deserves to be worshipped. One of these people, when he heard that, as I was teaching him, it seems like something inside him was shaken. He said to me, we have to leave. We have to go outside. And he started to shake. He started to tremble. He vomited. I don't know how many times. Later on, he told me that he was having problems. He was having problems with shayateen. But he felt that when he heard the true creed, when he heard the belief of the Muslims, the fundamentals, the cause of belief, he felt that it shook something inside him. Because the shayateen, they love najasa. The shayateen, they love kufr and ma'asi, sins. And they hate iman. They hate iman and nadhafa. They hate iman and they hate cleanliness. So this is also something that is very, very strong. And with one thing I will finish. To protect yourselves from magic and other things like what is known as al-ayn, the evil eye. One can read these things that we mentioned, but specifically, one of the companions once, he heard a sound but he did not see anybody. And he realized this is a shaitan. So he called out to it and he said, what is it that protects us humans from you? So he said, Ayatul Kursi. Now remember the Jinn, the shayateen, something you have to know about them is that they lie. Liars, kadhabun, dajajila. They lie. So this companion, he took it with a pinch of salt and he took it back to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he said, Ya Rasulullah, I heard someone but I didn't see them. They said to me, and I believe it was the devil, he said to me that what protects us humans from them is Ayatul Kursi. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Sadaq al-Khabith. This corrupt, despicable being, which is this demon, he told the truth. Sadaq al-Khabith. He told the truth. Meaning that Ayatul Kursi, it is very, very, very strong against the Jinn, or specifically the shayateen. In regards to Jinn, remember, we don't call them shayateen, but the Jinn that are Muslim, some of them do commit sins, of course. Most of the Jinn are major sinners. Some Jinn may even enter people, so some of the Muslim Jinn, and they would be disobedient to Allah, just so that we don't think that all Jinn are pious. Okay, just 1 second. Any questions on this topic? First, yes.
Is possession as we know it real, and how can that be differentiated from mental illness?
سؤال. Firstly, yes, it's real. Secondly, how can it be differentiated from mental illness? That's a tough one, because sometimes what happens is that you have a person who is schizophrenic, right? And many people, many brothers and sisters will jump the gun and say, he's got 6 jinn in him. One's a little girl called Amy, one of them is acting like someone called, 30-year-old called Abdullah. So it's very tough. Allahu A'lam. Allahu A'lam. But I see your point, because it's come up before where it might be thought that a particular person, the brothers will jump the gun and say, Khalas, he jinn, he's got a jinn in him. But you think twice, you think this person might actually be mentally ill. And that's a good point. But how to differentiate? I don't know. Allahu A'lam. Anything else?